What's going on, my Century Gunners? It's the Sentiment here, so back again with another classic WWE pay-per-view review. Last weekend marks the 25th anniversary of a classic WWE pay-per-view I'm going to review right now. That is King of the Ring 1998. So this show was at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on the 28th of June 1998. The attendance of the show was 17,087. King of the Ring 98 received about 385,000 pay-per-view buys, a upgrade than the previous year's King of the Ring from 1997. That show received about 177,000 pay-per-view buys. I think the main event of that show was The Undertaker versus Farouk, the leader of the Nation of Domination, for the WWF Championship. And also on that same night, you had Mankind versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley, aka Triple H. You had Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Wow, 177,000 pay-per-view buys. One show, one King of the Ring show, got like a crap pay-per-view buy rate. This show got like a really good buy rate because this is in the hype of the Attitude Era. Business is doing well. Beating Nitro on a consistent basis. The attendance in the all-time high. Anyway, the commentators for the show are JR and The King. So this show, King of the Ring 1998, this show is memorable for two things. Like, one, the famous and the infamous Hell in the Cell match between The Undertaker versus Mankind. And also, spoiler, Kane won his first World Championship against Stone Cold Steve Austin in a First Blood match. I'll get to those matches later on in this review. So the first match to kick off, King of the Ring 1998. This is a six-man tag team match. So we've got the Headbangers, that is Marsh and Thrasher, teaming up with, at the time, the light heavyweight champion Taka Michinoku, taking on all three members of Kaientai. That is Mentoa, Funaki, and Dick Togo. You had what's his name? Yamaguchi-san as their manager. Kaientai, very crappy. I think it was just a stupid, like Japanese faction or stable. They basically were just stereotyping Japanese, Chinese, Asians. They'll never do it right now because it's PC, political correct. You got to be careful. But I think back then in like 1998, they just fine. Let's do a group full of Japanese wrestlers. Stereotype them. They were originally called Team Kamikaze and the Kamikaze Boys. This was before they're in WWF. They were in Japan. This group was formed in Japan in 1994. Then they moved to, and then they went on to go to America. They have I think, had a one match in ECW. I think it was the Very Legal show back in 1997, the previous year. Now they're in the WWF. It's really funny to lead up to chopping Foul Venus' penis, choppy his pee. You can tell like it's just stereotyping Japanese Asian people. But anyway, so the match was, I think it was a fun match for what it is. I give it like 3 stars. I think it was fun for what it is. It's fast paced. One part of the match, I think you had two members of Kaientai. I think it was Men's Toa and Funaki. They did like this masturbation gesture, wanking gesture. I think when they're doing the I think it was an elbow drop onto, I think it was one member of the Headbangers. It wasn't Taka, it was Marshall Thrasher. Funaki giving one of the members of the Headbangers the bird, the middle finger. I tried to keep it short and simple, even though this match lasted about 6 minutes. I thought it was a 10-minute match or an 8-minute match, but it was 6 minutes. But anyway, so Taka Michinoku and the Headbangers got the victory over Kaientai. Taka hit the Michinoku driver onto Funaki for the win. There was no build to this. This is like a bonus match, It's basically beefing up the card. So yeah, it was a fun match for what it is. It was really getting the fans getting ready for the rest of the show. Not too long after this, Taka ended up joining Kaientai, and He stayed there until I think the three members of Kaintai end up leaving the company, including Yamaguchi-san. Yeah, I think Yamaguchi-san ended up leaving before because Taka, Menstoa, and Dick Tago, they end up I think they left the WWF in 2001, and Funaki stayed in the company until the mid 2000s. I think he's still in the company to this day, and it makes no sense. It's a shame. It's a shame for Taka, man. He never came back. The best time he should have came back was in 2002, 2003 on SmackDown when they're doing the cruiserweight division. I think he'd probably hang with the guys like Rey Mysterio, Billy Kidman, Jamie Noble, and also forgot to mention this. I looked up that you had the future Kaz in WCW was in that group. I don't know whatever reason they kind of not have him in this group. So anyway, let's move on to the next match. So the next match, this is the first semi-final match of the 1998 King of the Ring tournament. The world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, taking on Double J, Jeff Jarrett, with Tennessee Lee in his corner. Tennessee Lee is the former Colonel Robert Parker in WCW. It's funny, calling himself Colonel Robert Parker. I think Robert Parker is the manager of Elvis Presley. Anyway, so actually there's no build up to this. Weeks prior, Ken Shamrock got his leg or ankle injured by the hands of Owen Hart. We'll get to Owen later on because he wrestled on this show. The match was just it was a standard match, and I'm gonna tell you right now, there was no bad matches on the show for me. I'll get to my overall thoughts of the show at the end of this review. I don't find these matches on the show to be terrible. They're just kind of there. Anyway, so yeah, some bulks of the match, you had Jeff Jarrett working on the leg of Ken Shamrock, but Shamrock was not really later on in his match, he was not against The Rock. Sorry, spoiler alert. He's not really selling the leg. He was not selling the ankle. That was no factor to this. Anyway, so really in the first semi-final match between Shamrock and Jarrett, Shamrock had mostly the offense over Jarrett. Jarrett had some offense. He had Tennessee Lee got involved. Anyway, so in the end, Shamrock locked the ankle lock onto Jeff Jarrett for the win. He advanced into the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. And then moving on to the second semi-final of the King of the Ring tournament of 1998. The Rock, the leader of the nation, not the Nation of Domination. I think they kind of ditched the domination side. They just call it the Nation at this moment in time. With Mark Henry and Karma, this was the start of Karma becoming the Godfather, and the rest is history with the money train and the hose. That was man, that really got him over. Anyway, so I think he had Sergeant Slaughter and the other referees, kicking both Godfather and Mark Henry out of the group. Not out of the group, but out of the out ringside. Anyway, The Rock taking on Dan the Beast 7 in the second semifinals of the King of the Ring tournament. I think this is the weakest match of the night for me, and also this is the shortest match of the night. This match lasted about 4 minutes and 25 seconds. The whole bulk of the match, he kind of Seven kind of working on the leg of the Rock, Rock shouted "God damn it," and Rock was basically mocking the gesture of Dan Seven doing the taunt. That was kind of funny. The Rock has got to be one of the most entertaining heels, very underrated, entertaining heels in professional wrestling history. He's just fucking entertaining. He's just that's the reason why I enjoy sometimes most of his movies. He's just really entertaining. Anyway, so in the end, you had members of the Nation got involved. I think you had Godfather Mark Henry interfere the referee. D'Lo hit Dan Seven with the frog splash. I forgot to mention this. I feel like the leading up to the semi-final match of the King of the Ring tournament, Dan Seven, I think he eliminated both members of the Nation of Domination. I think it was, and one of them was D'Lo Brown. He kind of locked a submission hold onto D'Lo Brown. I think it was a Rings of Saturn that caused D'Lo injured his pec in the process. He debuted on this show with the chest protector. I think he wore it afterwards. Anyway, so he hit the frog splash while wearing the piece onto Dan Seven. Seven got knocked out. The Rock pinned Seven for the win. He advanced into the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. He would face Ken Shamrock later on the show, on the pay-per-view. He kind of said in a post-match interview with Michael Cole that, Shamrock's going to hit rock bottom. He's not reaching the peak. I'll get to the Rock Shamrock match later on in this review. Yeah, I think it was I'll get to my overall thoughts of the matches on the show at the end of this review. So moving on to the next match. So the next match, it says is a tag team match, but in reality this is a handicap match. So we got two members of Too Much, the future Too Cool, Brian Christopher, the future Grand Master Sexay, with Scott Taylor in his corner. Scott Taylor is the future Scotty Too Hotty, taking on Al Snow and Head with Jerry the King Lawler as the special guest referee. So this is Al Snow's first WWF pay-per-view match since he came back, because he had a short stint in ECW. His first run in the company, he was the Mask Avatar and Leaf Cassidy. They were kind of like jobber gimmicks, he got sick of it, went to ECW, he developed the head gimmick, got him over. His final match in ECW was against Shane Douglas for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship at WrestlePalooza. I might review that show in the future. So that was his first match out of ECW, because he ended up leaving the company, go back to the WWF. The build up to this, Shamrock, not Shamrock, Al Snow wants a job back in the company, and he's getting escorted out of the building. He ended up dressing up like a Japanese photographer. He dressed up like I think it's a Mexican, wearing the sombrero and the poncho. He end up going into the becoming a Spanish commentator in the Spanish announce team. I think you end up joining the commentary team. But Vince and has none of it. Lawler said to Al Snow that he said to me, to get a contract with the company, you have to beat Too Much at King of the Ring. That is kayfabe, because in reality he ended up signing anyway. So it's funny, in this match, they never bring up Lawler's time in ECW, because he ended up he was berating ECW, call it extremely crappy wrestling. I think at this moment in time, because the previous year, WWF and ECW were in a working relationship. I think a year later they end up parting ways, because maybe it has to do with they're ripping off the stuff of the Attitude Era, was ripping off the stuff in ECW were doing. That's just what I know. But anyway, and also I understand what I don't. Yeah, Lawler as the as the special guest referee, because in my last year I did WWF in 1997. 25 years later, go and check out the Raws and the pay-per-views. Lawler never acknowledged that Brian Christopher is his son. In real life they're father and son, but in kayfabe, then he never acknowledged that Brian Christopher is Jerry Lawler's son. They never acknowledged that. So this match, some people bash it. It was the worst match of the night. To be honest, I don't think it's the worst match of the night. To be fair, is it a great match? No. Is it a terrible match? No. I think it was an okay match. It's kind of funny. You had Lawler. Like I said, Lawler's the special guest referee. JR is calling this match solo. JR's commentary on towards Head, one more of the match, he said I apologize to my Head fans, or I apologize to the Head fans, and he said what I'm saying, and then when Al Snow tagging Head, Head is the legal man in this match. What the hell am I saying? I kind of laugh at that. It's kind of funny. The crowd was quiet throughout the whole match, but when Snow tagged in Head, the fans popped because at the time Al Snow's gimmick was so over like gangbusters. In the end, Lawler grabbed like a bottle of Head and Shoulders towards Brian Christopher. He placed the bottle on top onto Head, and then Snow hit the snow. I think it was called the Plow Snow or the Snow Plower onto Scott Taylor, the future Scotty 2 Hottie. Lawler did the 3 count. You thought Al Snow wins. He gets a contract with the WWF, re-signed with the company. Unfortunately, that's not the case. He's Lawler's bias. Gives the victory to Too Much, and it's funny seeing Brian Christopher holding the bottle of Head and Shoulders. It's funny like a couple of years. I think it was decades later. WWE did like an advert. It was a Head and Shoulders advert with Becky Lynch on it. That was kind of funny that it's put it in the future that one day WWE's in a working relationship with Head and Shoulders. So anyway, for Al Snow, he ended up getting his contract with the company re-signed with the WWF. Even though he's already there, he had to be part of the Job Squad and becoming I think he ended up becoming a multiple-time hardcore champion, becoming a hardcore wrestler and a trainer. Tough enough. I think his run in WWF, his second run was underrated. I don't know. I don't. It'd be cool. I don't know. He end up. It'd be cool if he end up getting signed with. Not signed, but end up like being inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. But yeah, he left on. I think he left on bad terms. But I don't want to talk about it in this review. So, but this match between Too Much, Al Snow, and Head, it's not bad, but not great. It's kind of like right down the middle for me. Because the bright spot of this match has to be JR's commentary. Anyway, even though the ending was stupid, like Brian Christopher putting a bottle of Head and Shoulders onto Head to get the victory. Anyway, so moving on to the next match. So the next match, we got Owen Hart taking on X-Part with China in the corner of X-Part Sean Waltman. So this is the DX Nation rivalry. So that was during that was the start of it, the beginnings of this rivalry. Because at this moment in time, the start of the year, it's really the start of the year. DX and the Nation were heels. They were a heel faction, and then after Sean, retired for 4 years, they turned DX as a babyface faction, and the rest is history. Then now DX are feuding with the Nation. Just the Nation at this moment in time, not the Nation of Domination. Because at this moment in time, Farouk is gone. Rock is, the leader of the group. Owen Hart, turned heel, attacked Ken Shamrock, injured his ankle, and become a solo or co-leader of the Nation. The build-up to this, you had Owen and X-Part, costing each other matches in the King of the Ring tournament. I'm going to talk about Owen as, be part of the Nation of Domination. I don't think he fits in that group pretty damn well. Like, if you compare this group, I compare it to the Nation of Domination to the Bloodline of right now. You could say Owen's in that position as Sami Zayn. Like, at least Sami, wants to be in that group. Owen doesn't really belong. He was, he attacked Ken Shamrock. He ended up feuding with Shamrock. Um, you know, after this pay-per-view, but he doesn't really fit the group pretty damn well. I think he was kind of there. So yeah, he was kind of there. He was kind of there. I think he was better off doing his own thing. I think the reason why they have to turn him heel once again, like, I think it was three things. Like, one, he's still in the doghouse because what he did to Stone Cold Steve Austin at SummerSlam the previous year. He dropped him on his head. Two, maybe it has to do with the stuff with, WWF still cutting ties with the Hart family, because of the Montreal Screwjob. I think, don't quote me. And three, maybe the whole the Black Heart stuff was not getting over. Owen just doesn't have the chance to be in a babyface. I think he was better off as a heel. I like him as a heel. He just plays the character pretty damn well. Anyway, and I think this is X Park's. Yeah, this is X Park's first. I think this is first pay per view match back. First pay per view match as X Park because he was in the WWF before this. He was the 1-2-3 kid, and then he left the company. I think it was around 1996. I think it was late 95, early 96. Gone to WCW, be part of the NWO. Now he's back, part of D Generation X. So the match between Owen and X Park, I don't know, they got a bit of chemistry, but I found like I watched it twice. The first time I thought I was got a little bored, but when I watched it the second time, this was good. I really enjoyed this match between Owen and X Park. They're both good workers, Sean Waltman and Owen Hart. Anyway, so you know, so yeah, it's one of his first match back. Like he had the match the previous month at Over the Edge. But it was good for what it is. One more of the match, you had Owen kind of Irish whip X Park onto, I think it was a timekeeper arena. I think they did a move over the top rope, or over off the top rope. I think it was Owen or X Park. It's one or the other. I'm not too sure who did that. I think it was Owen or X Park. I don't remember, but anyway, it was a bit. The ending was a bit overbooked with run-ins. You had Mark Henry, hitting X Park with the yeah, with the splash, and then you got like Mark Henry and China getting each other's faces, and then Vader come along to chase Mark Henry out of the building. The stuff with China and Mark Henry, it's a setup with I think like Henry end up like I don't know if he sexual assaulted China in kayfabe because he can't really do that but he ended up like making out with China. He ended up becoming sexual chocolate. Anyway, that was kind of fine in the end. Owen locked in the sharpshooter onto X Park, trying to get in the ring, hit Owen with the DDT. Park, or X Park, not referring to Park, the former Neville in WWE. Anyway, X Park pins Owen Hart for the victory. I think it was a good win. It was a good win. I think it was a good win. I think it was a good win for X Park because this is one of his first matches back in the company in his second run with the Federation. I don't think it hurt Owen I don't think it hurt Owen because, like I said, I think he's in an island. He's in a not Welkin Island because he doesn't really fit the nations pretty damn well. He ended up feuding with Owen. He set up the not no, he feuded with Shamrock. My apologies. Sorry. It's a bit not a bit late, but it's nearly 10. No, he ended up feuding with Ken Shamrock. He had the one and only dungeon match at the Hart Family dungeon in Calgary. I think it was at the first fully loaded show the following month. So I think they fought in the Lions Den match. Maybe I was wrong, but that's another story for another time. But besides that, I think it was a fun match between Owen and X Park. So moving on to the next match. So the next match, ooh, 1 second. I thought I clicked. 1 second, I clicked off the. Anyway, that was right. Anyway, so yeah, the next match. This is for the WWF Tag Team Championships. The New Age Outlaws, Badass Billy Gunn and Road Dogg Jesse James defending the belt. Oh, you got China in the corner. Defending the belts against the new Midnight Express. That is Bodacious Bob. Bodacious Bart and Bombastic Bob. That is Bob Holly and Bart Gunn for this video. Just gonna call them as Bart Gunn and Bob Holly. Otherwise, always gonna get confusing calling them Bodacious and Bombastic, with Jim Cornette in the corner of Bart Gunn and Bob Holly. This was you could tell they were doing the whole NWA invasion. Unfortunately, that's never caught fire. You had the new Midnight Express. It's not the old Midnight Express with Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton. No, this is Bart Gunn and Bob Holly. Wow, in the 90s, in the WWF, they ended up doing new tag teams. You had the new Rockers, the new Blackjacks, and now you got the new Midnight Express. Sometimes it's doing new tag teams with the gimmicks of the previous successful tag team. It just reminds you of the old version of those tag teams, you know. Anyway, so yeah, the whole NWA thing was a bit it kind of flopped, you know. Yeah, Seven wearing becoming the NWA World Champion. That's another story for another time. Anyway, the match between the Outlaws and the new Midnight Express, it was a decent match for what it is. You know, it's good to see like Bart Gunn and Billy have square one on one because they were a former tag team. You know, they were I think they were a multiple time tag team. You know, they were part of the Smoking Guns. Anyway, Cornette he kind of interfered twice in this match. You know, one more of the match, Billy Gunn hit was trying to hit I think it was Bob Gunn or Bob Holly with the power driver, and Cornette hit Billy Gunn with the NWA Tag Team title belts. Then he interfered again for the ending. You know, he was trying to hit Billy Gunn once again with the title belts, and China missed her cue, but she prepared, hit Jim Cornette with the low blow, and in the end, New Age Outlaws got the victory. They retained the tag team titles. You know, I think they hit some kind of I think it was a stun gun, a double stun gun onto I think it was Bob Harley or Buck Gunn for the win. So anyway, that was the end of the NWA invasion. Like I think Cornette ended up leaving the company. No, actually not leaving the company. I think he ended up like part of developmental. He ended up left on bad terms. Like that was in around 2002ish or it's somewhere in the early 2000ish. But for the new Midnight Express, they end up like giving up that tag team because they went on to do separate things. You know, Bob Holly ended up becoming be part of the Jump Squad. That was in like late '98ish. That was later on in the year. Then he ended up becoming Hardcore Holly. The rest is history. As for Bart Gunn, Bart Gunn, that was the biggest summer for him. He went on to win the Brawl for All in the expense of Dr. Death Steve Williams. And then the following year, WrestleMania 15, getting knocked the fuck out by Butterbean. That's another story for another time. So moving on to the finals of the 1998 King of the Ring. The world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, taking on The Rock. Triple H on commentary. China was in the Spanish commentary booth. And it's really not bizarre, but like wow. When I see hear China speaking Spanish with the Spanish announce team, I think it was Carlos Cabrera and Hugo Savinovich. I was shocked. Like wow, China speaking Spanish. He's bilingual. Wow. Like Triple H on commentary was kind of fun. You know when JR said to Triple H, yo, what's she saying? Because China speaks Spanish. Something about Taco Bell, and he said, testes, 1, 2, 3. The match was good, you know. I think, between Shamrock and The Rock, their WrestleMania 40 match was a bit of a dud. I'm not saying terrible, but it could be a lot better, because it's ending this disqualification when Shamrock refused to let go of the ankle lock. This match was good for what it is. It was back and forth. I think Rock and Shamrock, had some good chemistry. They're kicking out not finishes, but kicking out some big power moves. One more in the match, you had Rock going in the face of Triple H. Triple H spit in the face of Ken Shamrock, and also Rock didn't work on the ankle of Ken Shamrock because I think the ankle injury was non-factor. He's not really selling the leg. So anyway, I'm trying to keep it short and simple. Because at this moment in time, because the Nation was feuding with DX. In the end, Shamrock made The Rock tap out with the ankle lock, and Shamrock became the 1998 King of the Ring winner. Afterwards, The Rock and Triple H still continued their rivalry. They fought in that 2-hour-free pinfall match at Fully Loaded. Then they had that good, awesome ladder match at SummerSlam that year at MSG. For Ken Shamrock, man, Shamrock should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. I don't know if he left on bad terms, but he should be in the Hall of Fame. He's in the UFC Hall of Fame. He should be in both in the Pro Wrestling and WWE Hall of Fame because he He's the first guy making person actually tap out. Before that, before Shamrock, when someone put you in the submission hold, you have to tell the referee I give up. When Shamrock and afterwards, when a wrestler right now locked in the submission hold, you're tapping out. I think he's very underrated. Doesn't really get any credit, man. It's a shame for Shamrock. He never got like a big run, a big push in the WWF. He won the King of the Ring tournament. He went on to win the Intercontinental Championship later that year. This was after Triple H won the IC title belt from The Rock in a ladder match at SummerSlam. Yeah, he ended up he kind of forfeit the title due to, I think it was a knee injury. Shamrock won a tournament to crown the new Intercontinental Champion. And that was it. It's a shame. Like, he never become a world champion, a main eventer. Maybe it has to do with the main event and the big spots was full. It was loaded, with guys. I think they were more focused on the next upcoming stars like Rock and Triple H. It's a shame for him. Maybe if he debut years before this or years before this, maybe things might work out for him. It's funny. Like, it's really sad for him. Like, I think his final feud in the company was between Road. It was against Steve Blackman, but it was Road Dogg between Road. I think it was against Chris. He was supposed to face Chris Jericho at Unforgiven, but unfortunately suffered a shoulder injury and left the company. He never came back. He never came back. And then he ended up like becoming the world champion in TNA in the 31st weekly pay-per-view, and that was it. It's a shame. Like, he never came back to the company. Maybe he's just lacked charisma. He's just got that. For me personally, Shamrock got that Goldberg feel, like presence, like that fight feel. It's a shame he never got that world title, man. I think he might be a good world championship. He like, even though wrestling is like, some people, I'm not gonna say, even though it's not like a proper sport, Shamrock treats it like a proper sport. It's a shame he never got that world title. But besides that, I think this and winning the IC title, I think that was probably the biggest moment of Ken Shamrock's career in his only run in the World Wrestling Federation. So anyway, moving on to the famous and the infamous Hell in the Cell match between The Undertaker versus Mankind. So this is Mankind's first pay-per-view match as Mankind, because in the last two pay-per-view matches, he was Dude Love feuding with Stone Cold Steve Austin. But this is his first match back as Mankind. He cost The Undertaker a number one contenders match against Kane on Raw a week prior, and then Undertaker attacked Paul Bearer at his own home. Anyway, so he did a promo about this. That was his. Call him his. I don't know. He was still calling his Uncle Paul. Calling him a stupid son of a bitch. When I saw this video package of it, I don't know. I think they got rid. You're not gonna see it in the network version of it. He called him a stupid son of a bitch. He did the similar promo years later in 2006. Bashing ECW. This is before the tag team match. At One Night Stand 2006. Anyway, this match, there's a lot to talk about. I'm gonna keep it short and simple, folks. This is match of the night. So it started off, JR is saying, he brings up like he was born Michael Foley or Mick Foley. Anyway, so he ended up like climbing on top of the Hell in the Cell structure. Then the Undertaker did the same thing. And I heard reports that Undertaker suffered a ankle injury or foot injury. We'll get to that later on. So there is 3 Oh My G moments. The first Oh My G moments is, okay, before that, you had Mankind hitting The Undertaker with the chair in the back. He hit The Undertaker in the back with the chair. Then we're walking around on the top of the cell structure. It didn't really look safe. One of the cells walls starting to open up a bit. I feel like Undertaker planted his foot and it's starting to open up a bit. You could tell like both guys are like 200, 280. They're kind of like 200, 300 pounders. It's not supporting the weights, the top of the roof. Anyway, so the first Oh My G moment, Undertaker like throwing Mankind off the Hell in the Cell, and Mankind kind of like falling 16 feet off the cell and through onto the announce table, the Spanish announce table, and then JR said, "Good Almighty, that killed him." Sorry, I can't do the voice impression. I think he suffered a separated shoulder while in Impact when he crashed onto the Spanish announce table. Out comes Sergeant Slaughter and Terry Funk. Anyway, they kind of like giving Mick Foley, Mankind some medical, really a medical treatment, or medical attention. I'm trying to meant to say, but anyway. So I think they like want to remove the Mankind mask off of Foley's face, and then they put him on the stretcher, trying to stretch him out of the building. You imagine that was it, you still got a good moment, but people will say about this cell in the most different way. But anyway, so Foley get out of the stretcher, he climbed back on top of the cell stretcher. He's on the top of the cell stretcher once again with the Undertaker. The second Oh My G moment is the Undertaker chokeslam Mankind through the cell wall and in onto the ring. I think it really knocked out. He was briefly unconscious while Undertaker chokeslam Foley through the cell roof and into the ring. I think Foley said in an interview that if he takes that chokeslam through the cell wall properly, he'll probably be dead. Anyway, so I think he ended up also suffering not just a separated shoulder after he got fallen off the cell structure into the announce table, and he also suffered a dislocated jaw. I think that was after when Taker chokeslammed him through the cell roof, and Taker climbed down through the hole of the cell roof and into the ring. He kind of like hurt his ankle in process because. Remember, this cell is 16 feet. If you land in a very high distance, you can probably end up injure your ankle, or worse, blow out a knee. Anyway, and also there was gotta be one of the most iconic moments. Seeing Foley smiling with blood pouring down his mouth, and also got a piece of his tooth sticking out of his nose. That was like, wow, holy shit. But anyway, so the third Oh My G moment. Before that, you had Taker going for the suicide dive onto Mankind through the cell wall, but instead he got away. Foley, Mankind kind of rubbed the Undertaker's face onto the cell wall. I think he ended up bleeding in the process. Foley, Mankind tombstone the Undertaker onto the chair. Not tombstone, power drive the Undertaker onto the chair. It's not tombstone, but he kind of did a regular power driver onto the Undertaker onto the chair. And then the third Oh My G moment is the thumbtacks. He grabbed a bag of thumbtacks, spread it in the ring. I think Taker chokeslammed him onto the thumbtacks. That's Mick Foley's, aka Mankind. And then he hit Mankind with the tombstone power driver to win this match, and that was it. That's got to be a breakout performance by Mick Foley. It's like this moment of Foley, falling, falling off the Hell in the Cell onto the announce table, and then went through the cell wall. That's got to be, it's really immortalized on WWE's. Every time they go near the doing the Hell in Cell pay-per-views, they always bring up the highlights of Mick Foley's match against The Undertaker. I think this idea was pitched by Terry Funk. They start out on top of the cell wall. Foley said in an interview that if he did this bump right now, in today's timeline, in today's pro wrestling era, they'll probably immediately stop this match. But it was really good to see. Foley was an actual beast. Never give up. Never give up the fight. Because I think this was kind of like the proper rubber match of the Undertaker Mankind rivalry. They ended fighting again. The fight over the tag team titles. In the summertime in July in the next pay per view. Him and Stone Cold Steve Austin teaming up against Kane and Mankind because like I forgot to mention this. Mankind had aligned himself once again with Kane. It's funny, like Kane's first feud in the company. It's not with the Undertaker. It was against Mankind at Survivor Series 1997. So anyway, but yeah, I think this was they end up fighting in the tag team side of it. Like I said, the following month at Fully Loaded, and also a year later, Rock and Sock Connection taking on the Unholy Alliance. That is Big Show and Undertaker. But that feud in '99, it did not live up the hype. It didn't live up the hype, but it just basically the intensity wasn't on the same level compared to their rivalry in '96 and '97, and also in 1998. So I think Mick Foley, man, I feel like they give them a chance. They give them a chance. Because WCW and ECW never give them a chance. You never got that respect. In WCW, when he was Cactus Jack, he was briefly in the WCW World Title picture with Sting. Unfortunately, they didn't really see Foley being a future potential main eventer, a future world champion. ECW, he was a tag team champion. That's it. But in WWF, they give him a chance. I think this feud with The Undertaker really put Mick Foley truly on the map, becoming a potential future world champion and main eventer, So they give him a chance, I think it was a good decision for Foley signing with the WWF, because what they did, they give him a good gimmick as Mankind, and he played the character pretty damn well, and what he done years later, in his run in the company, give him the belt on him, including that Raw when he beat The Rock. I might review that Raw one day, because next year's the 25th anniversary of that Raw when you had like Shivani giving the results of Raw. They did the finger poke of doom, and on the WWF side, Mankind beat The Rock. That was gotta be the biggest moment on the WWF side on the Monday Night War era. So anyway, it was a really good match, I think it's match of the night, Both guys look like a beast, they look like $1,000,000 bucks, I advise going out to watch this match, Undertaker, Mankind inside Hell in the Cell. So moving on to the main event, folks. And this is a first blood match for the WWF Championship. Before that, there's one segment on the show. The main event was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kane. Before that, there's one segment earlier. You had Sable. At this moment in time, Sable was fighting kayfabe because he or left the WWF in kayfabe because she lost a match against Mark Merrow. She wins. She's a free woman. She loses. She ended up leaving the company, and she lost. She can't end up getting re-signed with the company in kayfabe. Doing handout jobs. Being a ring announcer. She is gotta be the hottest woman at the time. Sable. She called out Vince McMahon. Vince came out with the Stooges. The fans were booing because at the time Vince didn't have the No Chance in Hell theme. You end up having that theme the following year at the Royal Rumble. That was part of the theme of that Royal Rumble, No Chance in Hell. That's another story for another time. Anyway, so Pat Patterson, one of Vince McMahon's stooges, hit or slapped Sable in the butt, and Sable slapped Pat Patterson in the face, and Pat Patterson said, "I dare having a woman slap me, get out of here," because I think Pat Patterson, I don't think at the time he was openly as a gay man, because everyone knows he's gay. Anyway, Vince came out, he said, he brings up this match between Austin and Kane, says, "You're setting up with a big, massive disappointed." The fans will be disappointed that Kane's going to win the title. Anyway, Paul Bearer, brought like this was later on in the show that Kane used to idolize the Undertaker watching Superstars. Anyway, so let's talk about this match. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kane. I think this is the first blood match in WWF history. The last one they ever did was John Cena JBL 1x10 08. Anyway, so Austin won the belt. It's funny, like months ago I reviewed WrestleMania 14. My apology. When Austin won the belt from Shawn Michaels at Mania 14, when Mike Tyson was the special guest, not the enforcer. I almost say special guest referee, but he was the enforcer of that match. Anyway, that was in March. Fast forward in June. After WrestleMania 14, Austin was still feuding with Vince in the two pay-per-view matches at Over the Edge and Unforgiven. Austin was feuding with Dude Love because I know the original plan was supposed to be Brian Pillman be in that position, but unfortunately Brian Pillman passed away in October of '97. So anyway, his next feud was against Kane. Kane won a No One Contenders match against The Undertaker after Mankind interfered. Austin, and also Kane said, this was weeks prior to this. Kane, like, he had this this box, if your voice box is fucked because you're a heavy smoker, that's part of his character at the time because he was a burn survivor because Undertaker set fire to the funeral home as a kid. Anyway, so Kane like did a wager that if he doesn't he did not win the title at King of the Ring, he will set himself on fire. He said, if I don't, it's so robotic, man. He said, if I don't win the title, I will set myself on fire. That is so goofy. I glad he ditched that. That is completely goofy. He came with that box, to his throat, able to speak. I glad they stopped. That, man. It was so cringe. But anyway, the first blood match, I think it was weak, and it's very funny that I think I used to review that show 1XN08, but I kind of deleted it. There were a lot of troll comments, but one day I might review it. The JBL John Cena first blood match was a bit weak. The first blood match was also weak. It was an okay brawl. Some people give it 3 stars. I don't really give it 3 stars. I give it it's not a terrible match, but it was an okay brawl. And also Kane was covered up because it's very hard if Kane one in this match bled. How Kane could bleed. You can't really see the bleeding part of his body. He's wearing all red. But anyway, Austin was bandaged up. I heard reports that Austin was in hospital for 3 days. I think he was dehydrated. He had a high fever, and also his elbow was bandaged up because he's got like a staph infection in his elbow. Anyway, so the match was, like I said, it was a brawl. It was an okay brawl, not an over the top brawl. There've been better ones, before and after this, but it was okay for what it is. The Hell in the Cell was still up. It was still not got rid. They not got rid of it. They kind of lowered down a bit. So trying to keep it short and simple. Anyway, so out comes Mankind and Undertaker. Undertaker wearing a black T-shirt hit Austin, or accidentally hit Austin on the head with the chair, and then he kind of wake up I think it was Earl Hebner, kind of wake him up with pouring petrol on him to revive him, and then Kane attack Taker with the chair, and then Austin, I think Austin hit Kane with the chair, and Austin was bleeding, and the referee saw Austin bled. Kane won this match. He called for the bell. Kane won this match and become the WWF champion for the one and only time. I don't know. It's kind of protecting both guys, but to me personally, I wish they execute pretty damn well. This is planting the seeds of if the Undertaker and Kane are in cahoots. But yeah, it's good to see Kane winning the belt because he's been in the company for about I think it was 9 months. So he debuted with the company. He was as Kane. He was in the company before this as Dr. Isaac Yankem, but as Kane, it was October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. So he's been in the company for 9 months, and 9 months in, he won his first world championship. So it's good for him, but it never lasts long. And also at the end of the show, you see Vince smiling, but to end it was really a good and okay cliffhanger. It set up the next night on Raw. So the next night on Raw, Austin win back the title from Kane. So it set up, like I said earlier, a tag team match. Kane and Mankind winning the tag team titles from the Outlaws, and then at Fully Loaded the following month, it was Kane and Mankind taking on Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin. When Austin and Taker went on to win the tag team title belts, they ended up dropping the belts back to Kane and Mankind, and then they ended up dropping the belts back to the Outlaws at SummerSlam. So and they set up the Highway of Hell. That's another story for another time. It's a shame for Kane never become WWE champion ever again. The next time he end up winning a world title will be 10 years later at WrestleMania 24, against Chavo Guerrero, and then he wins the big gold belt, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, the old World Heavyweight Championship, 12 years later in 2010. But that's another story for another time. But it's a shame he never got a proper run as the WWF champion. I think at this moment in time, Austin doesn't really need it. When I done my research, that when they did this was after Breakdown. When they took the belt off of Austin in that triple threat match. The rating was still up. The rating's still up because Steve Austin was kind of like, you could say at this moment in time was the biggest draw of the company at the time. Because I think at this moment in time Austin doesn't really need to be a world champion. It was kind of a placement, a prop. I'm not really berating and burying the title, but he doesn't really need it. Here's my fancy booking. Like maybe yeah, Austin was the draw whether he's the champion or not. Here's my fancy booking like this. Why could have Kane just hold the belt for one month, just 1 month, and then you could probably drop the belt to Austin at SummerSlam. You might do a triple threat match, still do the Highway of Hell this time in a triple threat match between Austin, Kane, Undertaker. That's just me, but it's a shame like Kane never got the belt. Yeah, in later years he ended up on chase mode, but never, wins the belt for the second time. But it's a shame for what it is, man. I feel like maybe they just like gone off Kane being the world champion. Maybe Kane doesn't really need to be world champion. It's just like what it is, man. So anyway, so my final overall rating for King of the Ring 1998. Overall, I give it like 8.5 out of 10. Some people doing their reviews of the show, they give it like 6 or 7. I think 6, little harsh, but 8.5 out of 10. It was basically a decent show, to be honest. People call it a one-match show because of the Undertaker Mankind match from earlier. But to be funny, yes, some good matches were 3-star worthy, but the match tonight has to be Undertaker Mankind inside Hell in a Cell. Like I said from earlier of this video, I said there was barely any bad matches. The only thing in the bad for me has to be The Rock vs. Dan Severn because there was lack of chemistry. It was also a short match, but besides that, some of these matches like Shamrock versus Jeff Jarrett, you had Al Too Much versus Al Snow and Head. People say it's bad, but to me, I think it was an okay match. The main event itself was okay. It was I think it was weaker because Kane was covered up, but it was an okay brawl. There've been better brawls, before and after this. I wish they executed a little bit better. But yeah. Besides that, in the good for me, just me. Like you had the opener was fun. Heg Banners and Taka taking on three members of Kaintai. I like X Pac versus Owen. I like the Outlaws and the UH Outlaws versus the Midnight Express. Not a must see match, but it was a fun match to watch. Rock and Shamrock, you know, I still give it 8.5 out of 10. If the Hell in the Cell match did not lift up the hype, it was not that memorable. Is it's very funny. Like they do, like after this, the Hell in the Cell matches they never reach the same bar as the first two matches. The first two Hell in the Cell matches, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Taker, Mankind. They're still good, but not on the same level. They're trying to recreate bumps like the Mick Foley bumps, but they'll never be the same. So, but anyway, like without take the Mankind match, Mankind Undertaker Hell in a Cell match out of it. I think it could be not bad, but kind of like a decent show. But besides that, I give it 8.5 out of 10. I think that match like crank up a full gear. But yeah, I advise watching this show for one match, Undertaker Mankind inside Hell in a Cell. So anyway, folks, what's your thoughts on King of the Ring 1998? Is it a good show, bad show, something in the middle? Write your thoughts on the comment section below. Smash like button, click the bell, subscribe to the Central Man Network on YouTube. Be part of the Central Unit for more wrestling videos and more. Next time on the classic WWE pay-per-view review series, I got me thinking. We're in July. I will review some Great American Bash shows. That'll be later on in the month. So let's travel 12 years into the future. This pay-per-view, this is revolve around The Undertaker and Kane. This time, Kane's the world champion. He will face his brother, The Undertaker. This time, it's inside Hell in the Cell. You know what I'm talking about. The next show I'm going to review is Hell in the Cell 2010. Until then, this is the Central Man officially signing out. Check you later, and that's my review of